we. Oh yeah, this is fire. All right, we got everybody here. Y'all can talk. You can, yeah, you can converse amongst yourselves. I'm just making sure the Twitch stream is on point. Ooh, the people need this in their life. Man. Yeah, we should be Gucci. Yeah, there we go, right there. Okay. All right. Oh, we in here. Okay, cool. All right, listen. It's 8:30. You know what I mean? We're live and direct. X, go ahead and sound test. Yeah, we should be Gucci. Oh yeah, right. Bet. Reggie, let me get you. Sound test it. Okay, Jazz.
You can hear me?
Yeah. Jocelyn.
Hey.
Jocelyn, okay, I can hear you. Tabu, let me get you.
What's up?
Darrington, you can wait. Lex.
I'm here.
And Darrington, go ahead. He don't say anything anyway. All right, cool. We ready. All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 2 of the Black Table. Like most of you guys know, this one is pertaining to our queens, the beautiful black women. Last week we actually our final question was really our final issue that we wanted to talk about was really of how the black woman has been left out, how the black woman seems to be last and or bottom on the totem pole, and what we as black men can do to be more supportive for our black women. I don't know who's got something going on in the back, but you about to get booted. Secondly, for us, man, it's absolute honor, man. Obviously, shout out to Ian and Ty. They're they're both gone right now. They might log in a little bit later. But with us, we have 4 amazing, powerful young queens that decided to grace us with their presence. I'm going to go down the line and let them just kind of introduce themselves, let you know where they're from, what they're about, and then we'll hop into this thing. We'll start with Jazz. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Jasmine. I'm from Blue Ridge, Texas. Almost 24 in 8 days. And I'm a 72 kilo power lifter for almost 4 years, and beautiful black queens all day.
Oh my God. Next up, we have Jocelyn. Go ahead. You got the floor.
Hey, I'm Jocelyn. I am a cheer coach. I get to work with LS, so I'm super excited to be a part of this tonight and, just connect with people. 25 years old, originally from New Jersey, and now living in Texas.
Oh, Jersey, stand up. Next up, we have the queen. She really, really, like, we all answer to her. Miss Tavia, go ahead. You got it.
Hey, y'all. I'm Latavia Bowens. I'm a senior director at a telecom firm. I am 40 years old, so I don't know how young that really fits me anymore. I still turn up like I'm 24.
Get out of here.
I do go to bed by 9. So
turn up at 8:30, bed by 9. Last but not least, we have Lex. Go ahead, girlie.
My name is Alexis. I am 25 years old from Fort Myers, Florida. I'm an athletic trainer. That's where I met LS and Jocelyn while I was working. So I'm an athletic trainer, and then I'm an 84 plus powerlifter. So I've been powerlifting for about a year and a half now.
Good stuff. So, yeah, I feel bad, Jocelyn. I didn't tell you that you were going to be with a bunch of lifters, but, it's all good. You'll figure it out. We got it. Out the gate, man. Like I said, I definitely want to make sure that I thank you guys for joining us yet again, fellas. It is what it is. This is one that I know we were kind of excited about, just on our side when we were kind of discussing, bringing some ladies in to really let you guys kind of have the floor. The hardest part, I guess from a black man's point of view, at least from me speaking personally, is just trying to figure out what and how you can be more supportive, for not just black women, but women in general. Just as a man, I feel like there's always you feel like you do some, but you can always do more, and along the lines of just supporting, and people that receive I should say support, and people that don't receive the support that we've kind of discussed over the last few weeks, that we feel that haven't received the support that they so rightfully deserve. The black woman definitely comes up number one on that list, and so we really wanted to bring you ladies in to kind of let you have the floor and kind of speak on some of the questions that we have as individuals, also collectively. So we'll try to hop into those real quick. And basically how it rolls, man, if it rolls anything like it did last time, it's going to be us pretty much, like I said, giving you guys the floor, letting you guys, say whatever you need to say, tackling the issues that you guys want to tackle. And at the end, if we have enough time, a lot of times people, they'll be logged on to the message board and they'll actually ask questions. And so we'll try to answer those accordingly. So we will start. Lord, we have so many questions. We will start with the first question. And again, some of you guys got some of the questions. Some of them you didn't. But whatever. We're gonna answer them as we go. The first question is going to be, where do you feel the black woman is most underutilized currently? That is the first question. You can go down the line. We're just all ears.
Jasmine first.
You look like you're ready. Go ahead.
Ooh. Okay. I need to hear the question one more time. Hold on a second.
The question is, where do you feel the black woman is most underutilized currently?
I think people think of a black woman as ghetto, as like fake. Like they don't like. They just they're just when you see a black woman, they always be like they always loud. They from the hood, like they don't actually think what they go through to get like from like what they go through in their situation. Like they always assume because people where I live in a white community. Mm-hmm. They think, oh, she's from the hood. She just moved to the city and to the country and like people don't understand black women. They just think like whatever. Like I just don't like when people like assume stuff. And when people assume to make an ass out of you. I mean, like you're in
right.
But that's what I think. Like I just hate when people like just visualize, like read us like a book. Like you don't know us. Like right. You don't know what we've been through, like our background, or like why we're in there. Because people like, for instance, like if a girl was from the hood, right. And then like they think, oh, she wear this and that and that, but that's all she couldn't afford. Like true. She living it. Like it's just that's why I think they don't think they think we just struggle too much. They don't think we always go from the top, like where like the white people at. Like I'm not trying to be like racist or whatever. I'm just trying to say like usually in society, white people up there, we down here. Like right. Let's be real, guys. So that's my opinion.
Johnson, I feel like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I kind of feel like from my point of view, I think that's something that's important. Is that perspective? Is maybe that black woman that is in a position of power, and you can kind of define power in different ways, whether it's a role within an upper level role in a company, an upper level role in society, and just different things. Because I know a big thing that I learned very quickly is almost like that representation. Because as much as we talk about these days, what everybody's been through to get to this point and how far we've come or how far we have not come, there's still that future ahead of us. And I think that's something that why we are keeping this topic alive, why we are pushing is because we want to better the future. We don't want anybody to struggle anymore. And I think, representation has a very large part to do that, because you can look at anybody and say like, I want to be her, or I even want to be him. But if you could see somebody who looks like you, it kind of makes more of that connection. Like for me, it's Tyra Banks,
Yeah.
So, and so like that's just somebody that immediately comes to mind. Watching her show, but then seeing her in society.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Lex?
Just to kind of piggyback off of both of them, the question that underutilized, where black women are underutilized, and I think just from what I've seen in my experience is in educational roles and teaching roles, You don't get a lot. You don't get to see a lot of black women in those roles. And I think when you have a, at least when I've had a black teacher, very rare have I had a black female educator. There's just so much diversity. There's so much across the board that black women can teach, but you don't see that. And I think Jazz made a good point talking about the black woman being viewed as being ghetto. Okay, a black woman that has personality, a black woman that has character, it can easily be misconstrued as being ghetto or too loud or always negative connotations instead of being she has a great personality, she's very boisterous, she's very outgoing. There's always negative connotations, and I think that's kind of what hurts black women in that setting as well. So there's that double standard always.
Right. Tavia, you got it.
I think that the good thing about this podcast is that you do have such a large age discrepancy between me and your other guests, because for me, I think where black women are most underutilized would be in the corporate space.
Okay.
So I think that for me, and I think this goes kind of ties back to what Jocelyn said, being the only in a corporate workspace is very hard, especially as a senior director, right? I'm the only in my entire company, 1,500 people in this meeting, right? So when I think about underutilization, 35% of black women, their managers don't promote them. Their managers, over their male counterparts, right?
Right.
You have percent of black women that never had substantial conversations with their senior leadership. So I do make it a point, because I've gotten so many emails when I took this role from young women and then black women, not just black women, but women in general too, that have emailed me and like, congratulations, would you mentor me? Can we talk? And I think that is something that our opinion has been devalued so much in the environments that we come from, that it does carry over into workplace. And so I think that would probably be, for me, where we're the most undervalued, because I can't say, when I look at my demographic, we're probably the most outspoken on racial injustice, period.
Right.
So I can't say that like we're undervalued there.
But almost in a day-to-day, it seems like in the day-to-day, based off of assumptions, based off of just initial positioning, based off of just judging a book by a cover that's honestly read completely wrong. That the day-to-day, be it corporate America, be it like I said, the classroom educational roles, it seems like it's in everyday day-to-day activity, which is, when it boils down, that's what it's about. The black woman seems to be completely underutilized. So that's, and again, for us on this side, I don't know, what we had talked about, just, how more and more, it's obviously being talked about, like the loss of the black man and the loss of lives and everything. But then it's crazy that, regardless of what the tragedy is, at least historically speaking, there's usually there's maybe a couple black men that are killed. There's usually there's a black woman somewhere, that's Sandra, yeah. And it's weird, but it always seems to get, while it's just as much of a tragedy, it always seems to kind of get overlooked. And how one can be overlooked in terms of death, in terms of these gruesome ways that these women are dying, it's beyond me. But it seems to be such a ever growing trend that just keeps repeating itself over and over and over. So again, having you guys on here is this is like, my brain is about to eat, because you guys are just feeding food. So I want to get to the next question. And again, if at any point, if you want to go ahead.
If you think about it, black women are the minority in every space they enter, except HBCUs and sororities.
Mm-hmm. And statistically speaking, they're the most educated, which is
most educated,
and the most educated of all. Like,
it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, it is.
That's black girl magic. The definition of black girl magic, for sure. Ooh. Okay. So this is kind of piggyback off of fellas, what we kind of touched on last week. But we can get it from you guys. Do you feel that there are areas that black men can be more supportive to you through? Are there areas that the black man can be far more supportive than he has been for the black woman?
I'm not gonna go first, so you guys go first.
I think my answer would have been very different 20 years ago, right? In college, right, I turned up. I didn't really see disparities, right? And now,
right,
I do have to relate it to experience and age. I think that black men can be more vocal and more supportive of black women, especially in spaces where they're getting called whores and bitches and things like that. You know, like you see, it's just this interesting dynamic, right? Like you'll have a group of guys standing on a corner, just in a corner, right? Be anywhere, and a girl will walk past, and he'll be like, "Hey, little mama, first of all, my mom did not make me that." But also, if she doesn't respond, he's like, well, and then it's just like, and then his friends don't say anything to check that. Like that's just like a minor example of it. But you can carry that example all the way through the workspace.
Okay.
I think you can be more vocal and supportive of your sisters because we damn sure are vocal and supportive of you.
Facts. That is super Ultron facts. Anyone else? Lex got something she want to say.
Like this is an open table. Like
this
don't
is
hold nothing back.
Yeah, just go.
My biggest thing was she hit on a lot of where I was gonna go with this question. And I think it goes both ways too. Like we're looking at black men, and a lot of times I see a lot of black women speaking down on black men. Okay, and it's the other way around too. I mean, even I'm gonna bring it up. Even when you're dating, you know, in the black community, there's always some stigma that you don't want to be with a black woman because she's too loud, she's too crazy, she's too ratchet, she's too this. And then on the other hand, you're with black women and like you don't want to be with a black man. He cheat on you. He do this. He do it. They crazy. Like it's a whole list. So when we're talking about what can we do to support each other, it goes both ways. Like that mutual respect. I'm big on not speaking negativity into the atmosphere because then now you're reaping, you're taking a seed and you're planting that seed.
Right.
And that's how, you have those things in relationships where trust becomes an issue, But as two people, as a black community, we got to support each other, lift each other up, be positive when we speak to each other. Use different terms. Like you said, when you introduced us, you called us queens. And we should be calling y'all kings. That mutual respect is missing between us two. And we've almost made ourselves believe that one is less than. If a black man saw me, I'd be a little intimidated because I feel maybe he's not interested in me. He might not be interested in me. He may be interested in the girl that looks a lot different than me. So that's just where when you talked about people speaking up when somebody calling you out of your name, it's that respect. We just have to have more of it.
I get what you.
Let me ask this question because I get me and my girlfriends talk about this a lot. For men, specifically black men, to say things like, "Oh, I don't want to be with a black girl or black woman because she's too loud or she's too," and then all my question is, do you feel that way about your mother? Because I have to think about that. But one thing that I think there's a learned behavior. I rarely see women that grew up in two-person households with a mother and a father talk negatively about black men. If their father was a role model in their life, and even if they didn't grow up in a two-parent household, their father was active, right? It's very difficult to talk shit about a black man if you had a black man in your life raising you. It's just difficult, right? So I have friends, right? They don't have two-person households. They reckless at the
mouth. She said reckless at the mouth.
They reckless, right? But I always think about that, and I think that the dynamic of our culture and our neighborhoods have been decimated since 1967.
Right.
It's just I think it's a reflection of
right
now.
Man. Jocelyn, you got it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can understand, like, you kind of, I think in that retrospect, kind of what you were just kind of talking about, it's like you learn how to love. And whether it's what you see or what you personally experience, it's going to affect you. And I think, like, that's something, that I can turn around and, I want to be a friend to everybody.
Right.
And that's my personality is, I want to make you feel comfortable. I want to make you feel welcomed. I want you to feel of value, whether we're working together or, we're just kind of an acquaintance of that something. But as soon as it, is somebody that might, be interested in me, kind of like, you pump the brakes a little bit and things like that, because I know for me personally, it's like, there's only two outcomes. It's going to work or it's going to not. And
Right.
Fortunately for me, I've gotten to grow up with my parents, and they're a great example. And, and just to back you up, like, my dad is the man,
big facts.
He's 1,000 miles away and he still can solve every problem,
Right.
Nobody
get on a plane, come fix your tire,
and so for me, I just think like that's, a perspective. And so you kind of almost hold people accountable to be that great. And it almost seems unrealistic because, we talk about kings and queens and fairy tales, he treated me like a princess.
Yeah.
And so that's, what I know and all I know. And, now fortunately, that I've met someone now and it's kind of like, it doesn't make me question that. And so,
right.
And that happens to some people and it doesn't. And it, and that's just kind of how things work out. But I definitely think that, and it's kind of in like, we are some of our reactions.
Right.
In any perspective of anything. And I think like that's a big thing is kind of like, okay, this is happening to you. So now what kind of energy are you going to put into it? And, that's going to be your result. And I mean, we know that with, all the things that we do.
Right.
Love and language are learned behaviors.
Yeah, so like I agree with all of y'all. Like I've been writing notes because I won't forget. So like to back it up, I think when a man treats a woman like if a man has like if you guys have your dad in your life and like your whole life or like most of your part, you see how he treats his mother. The man is going to act like his dad to treat another woman because that's all you see. Like that's all you see like while you growing up. Because like you see like some men treat women like really good like princesses like you were saying, Jocelyn, but some men see their dads treat their mama like shit. I mean, like they cuss at them, they grab them, they hit them, they disrespect them, and like they're going to do the same thing. So I'm saying like if you people just they when they see things they do it themselves, which I'm like, man, if you really think that you should do that, like think to yourself like you don't have to copy off your dad, even if it's good. Like you could do it your own way. Like if you see your dad maybe like open the door for your mom, like you should do that. But like you can maybe like do more to make your like. Cause see me, I was treated like a princess. Like my dad, I'm his little girl. Like I'm daddy's girl definitely. So whenever I was around Michael, like I assumed he's gonna be the same thing, but I can't base off him. So see, like you said, it's both ways. Like right. I can't just say, hey, he had to treat me like this, but you don't know how he was raised. Like his dad maybe treat his mom like good, but not as well as like my dad treat my mom. Because every night my dad pours a glass to my mama because she had stress when at work. So like it's just I like expect that from him, but like I can't say, hey, you should be doing that because he wasn't raised around that.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to point out, I have seen so many things of this light skin versus dark skin. Guys, when guys say light skins are prettier, okay, hold on a second. I'm not Jocelyn, you light skin, but I'm saying like you like I'm not saying like
I'm not cute.
No, I'm not light skin. I am red bone.
Get her. I gotta kick her off. I gotta kick her off.
Anyway, like I just don't like. I've had an issue when a man, like I have a good friend that's dark skinned. She's like dark skin, and they told her, oh, she pretty for a dark skinned girl. I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, she pretty regardless. Every woman pretty, even if they got something wrong with their complexion or not. Like, they pretty, but they be like light skins like are nicer. They got fat asses, and I'm like, what kind of? I'm looking like, no. Like, every woman got their own shape and size and still beautiful.
Facts.
So
friends.
you what?
I don't like those people. But
you need to get rid of those people for real.
Fast, quick.
It's just I've seen so many cases because I'm not considered light skinned, but I'm not considered dark skinned either. Like, I'm like mid tone, so like it's just I just don't like when people like. I think dark skins are actually more pretty. Like, their complexion is gorgeous. Like, I
kind of make you mad how nice it is. Like,
but every woman's pretty. Every
right.
woman's a queen. But like I said, I just don't like. I'm just telling men, don't judge a woman from her skin, like a color, like not for black and white, like if it's light or dark, because don't like put like an emphasis on light skins are prettier and dark skins are more louder. No, like I rather say treat women all equally. Because what if you're dark skinned and your mama light skinned, and then like
right,
it's just I want you like it's really mixed. Or even saying if they light skinned, they mix with Hawaiian or white. I'm like, or maybe she's got a light complexion. I'm like, it's annoying. But I'm just saying, man, treat women the same, even if they orange and blue. Like, that's all I gotta say.
Right. Go ahead.
No, I just think like kind of one thing that really sparked my mind and something like just like kind of being more attentive, I guess, and kind of reading into things like what you brought up is like for whatever, like those backhanded compliments.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what it sums double down to, it's kind of like, why, why can't it just be you are pretty, not for this, or you did a great job for, but what I mean, like it falls into a category, and I think that's when it comes to the big picture. That sometimes it's like, oh, black people, blah, blah, blah. But then now it's like a whole nother subcategory because you're already a little bit, I don't ever want to say I'm lesser, but the statistics show that, now that you're a woman, you're here, and now you're a black woman.
Right.
And so, like, that's what makes, things different. And, and I just kind of wanted to voice, too, that, as much people are what they see, they are who they choose to be. Facts. And I think that's something that we're kind of going through right now, and even us being here is that place of growth, and for that place for people to want to be who they want to be, and not and stuff like that. So
can I tag on real quick?
Please do.
Okay, so I just want to revisit that, that light skin versus dark skin thing.
Yes, ma'am, please do.
That trickles over into a lot of other things.
Yes.
Okay? For years upon years, we have always been taught the fairer your skin is, the prettier you are. The straighter your hair is, the prettier you are. All these different things that people have told us, it was to really target on how we look, our insecurities as women.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I find myself so self-conscious, and I'm like, the only reason I really feel that way is because someone told me this along the line, that this is how they felt about this particular thing about me. So now I'm always thinking about it. And as women, we took that, people telling us, oh, you're so dark, your hair's too short, all these other things that they said on us. And now, to make ourselves feel better, we've done it to our own people. We're dividing ourselves amongst women, saying, ooh, girl, little kids. It starts when we're little kids in the playground. Ooh, you so dark. Ooh, your hair's so short. Like, different things like that. Over time, we start believing, and we start dumping it off on other people.
Right.
That may be, in our eyes or in other people's eyes, lesser than where we are because of our different features. So, yeah, like y'all said, every black woman is beautiful, no matter the color, the hair length, the hair texture, whatever it is. That's all I had to get off my chest.
I will add a little piece to that, and not to take away from what anyone said, just more in addition to. I'm glad you kind of brought that up, Jasmine, in terms of just the skin color, the colorism, because while we do deal with racism, on a daily basis, even within the black community, we still have our bouts with colorism. If whose shade is lighter, whose shade is darker. A lot of people, a lot of people, don't understand. A lot of that comes from, as dumb as it's gonna sound, and I encourage anybody that's listening, it can easily be found. You can Google it. But the brown paper bag test, and so a lot of that was, as long as I can really remember, it's always been something that was passed on. But in terms of brown paper bag test, for those that don't know really what it's about, was basically it was something done to pretty much separate, darker blacks from lighter blacks. If your skin color was darker than a brown paper bag, then you weren't given a lot of the privileges that those that were lighter than a brown paper bag were able to have. And this is something that happened, it's been in the 20th century, but a lot of it, I mean, can go back a little bit further in terms of those slaves that were a part of the plantation, those that were lighter. There was a highly likely that maybe the slave owner was a dad, and the mom was white. The lighter the complexion, the closer they were to the house, or they were actually inside the house. Whereas the darker they were further out in the fields. So basically, the darker you were, basically you were lesser than. So a lot of this colorism has been something that really has been, honestly, as dumb as it sounds, just pretty much ingrained and trained into the black community, from as long as we've been slaves. So it's one of those things I would encourage anyone. I mean, anyone can Google it. It's literally, you just look up brown paper black back test and black skin. Go ahead.
House and field.
Yes.
They treated like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just to piggyback before we run on to the next questions, because I was taking notes too and whatnot, because there's a lot of different good points and whatnot, and specifically on the question we were saying, like you said about the division of skin tones, it's been like that for a while, and people don't think on that deep of a level to kind of like understand like that agenda is pushed very well or whatnot, the divide amongst the black community when it comes to females and males. It doesn't matter. It can be simply a simple joke to us, but people that see it all the time, they're like, yeah, man, they don't get as well just because black people, darker people are more aggressive, lighter people are the pretty boys and whatnot, and stuff like that. It seems so simple, but it becomes so natural over time that we don't even think about the damage it does or the separation it causes or whatnot on a bigger scale. It just causes feuds between us all, and it can start out small and it can spin out real quick, and someone can get real pissed and it can go further than it needs to be, and it's so minimal and stupid, but we don't think about it that way because it seems natural.
Yeah, because it's all we've known for so long.
It's been going on so long. We just don't. People don't think that deep. Another one was like you guys were all hitting on the qualities of black women that we see that get more praise from the black males that majority of the black female community don't really like, but it's accepted or whatnot. So like you're saying, sometimes it's glorified when girls act quote unquote ratchet or whatnot, and we don't like our mom figure, or we don't accept. We know we grew up with. I know how my mom acted or whatnot. It ain't shit like how most of the things are glorified now or whatnot, but
right.
It's glorified in media, music,
right,
and everything that we soak in as a black community, and a lot of that has to do with music and hip hop. We all know that and whatnot, and certain things that are pushed and glorified. And I feel like we don't do enough as black men to glorify some of the the natural perspective.
So, like, when you say you look at like social media, like music videos and all that, you see like women like half naked, shaking their ass and all that. Let me ask you this: would you want your future wife to act like that?
No, that's why I'm saying we do too much to big up that, and we don't do enough complimenting and glorifying the things that we really want or whatnot. You made it look nice, okay, cool. Do you really want to see your girl out there shaking that ass on that video? Nah.
Well, here's the thing, man, and this is it's a bit of a it's a two-lane highway as far as I'm concerned, because you have lust versus love, especially in a man's mind, straight up. You know what I mean? So there's lust and there's love. Now, straight up, you'll see a video vixen doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? You'll see a girl at a strip club doing whatever, and lust tells you that's what I want. You know what I mean? You see her on IG doing whatever. I mean, you see it every day, all day. Like you could be putting up, you know, an amazing, you know, like let's say that you're putting up a PR total. It's damn near a world record. You might get, you know what I mean, 200-300 likes. You know what I'm saying? You take a shot in your bikini or whatever, you probably gonna get damn near 1,000 likes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's skin and sin over everything. You know what I mean? And so, you know, when you talk about, you know, lust versus versus love, like, yeah, like flesh tells you I want that video vixen, but you know what I mean? Like you can't take that woman home. Yeah, your mom ain't gonna want that woman home. You know what I mean? Like it's a fact. I mean, and so
like that.
You know what I mean? So like, but then when you know, it's as dumb as it sounds. I mean, it's as man can be. Like I would sleep with that girl, but I would never take her home. That's not the type of woman I would marry. You know what I'm saying?
In black men's minds and black women's minds that actually do act like that, if they took some time and read about Sarah Bartman.
Come on now.
I really think if you read about understood that, you would see where that shift needs to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is we have a generation. It is unfortunate, right? There is a lost generation, and a lost like this, where it was important, you know, to be a fireman, a policeman, even with everything's going on. You wanted to be the president. You wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer. Now it's like, I want to be an Instagram model.
You know what I mean?
So when did it happen? And I feel like it was when we stopped teaching. Remember those Black History Month parades and what you had to do when you were little kids in school?
Yeah.
They took off out of schools. So you didn't learn about the history of why that's not, or why Luke could only be shown on BET Uncut at 2 a.m.
Right.
You know what I mean?
BET.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now you can see it everywhere. Why Nelly's tip drill couldn't be shown on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now you can see it everywhere.
There are no boundaries.
I just feel like Sarah Parkman. And I think that at least 30% of the people will be like, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Far less black education and far less boundaries overall. So I mean everything.
The exposure's too high now.
Yeah, the exposure is through the roof.
Those media.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. This is Darrington's. Darrington had a question, man. Like when I read that, by the way, Darrington, I was like, ooh, I never even thought this is fire. Okay. Darrington's question. It's not necessarily worded as a question, but it's more of just like kind of an open thought. And it's as simple as like, I wonder how the black man's experience with racism differs from that of the black woman's experience with racism.
That's a strong topic.
Through Darrington.
That is, I never thought. Okay, hold on, time out. So I have I have a brother. He has dreads. Like he used to have dreads, like long dreads, where he has to have beard, like little, like he homeless, like living himself, ghetto, looking on it, right? So he goes to Texas Tech. Like Texas Tech is one of those.
Ooh.
Exactly. Exactly. It's one of them white schools that you see the Ku Klux Klan walk across the street type of schools. So
that's where I'm from. Know it very well.
judge him of like he has a single mama. He like fried chicken. Like like it's just they assume from what he looks like
Mm-hmm.
he does this. So like my brother, he stood up. Well, his teacher asked him, "Hey, can I use you as like an example because of what's going on?" He said, "Yes, whatever." My brother don't care. So there was like, "What do you think both his parents like?" Everybody, his whole class, 99.9% of his class is white, and he's the only black man there. And he said, "They was like, oh no, he only got his mom in his life, and daddy might be in jail." So, and then he was like, "What's his favorite food?" And everyone's laughing, "Fried chicken." I'm like, okay. And then so my brother said, I have both my parents in my life since birth. My favorite food is actually sushi. And then we don't live in the ghetto. We live in the country. So like we live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood. Like it's just people assume that I think it's worse with men. I'm not gonna lie, straight up, it's worse with men because when you see a black man, they be thinking, "Oh, he gonna steal my purse. Oh, he about to rob this bank. He about to do this and that. He been in the slammer. He been in prison. He got some crimes on him." Like I think a man is scared of getting stopped by a cop by anybody from anybody else. Like if you see, no black man has ever been scared of like driving past a cop and like tense stuff like he about to stop me. I'm about to go to jail. I'm about to get tased. I'm about to get shot. I'm about to die. I'm lose my family. Like no, every black man has felt that before. Like well, hopefully you have because if you haven't like lived what a black person actually feels like. For women, I think women people will look at them like, oh, she ghetto, she got like 5 kids. Oh, like she a hoe. She always spread her legs everywhere. Like it's just people always assume
Mm-hmm.
that we just always spread our legs to anybody. They never think that we can say no. Or we always got weave in our hair. Like we always wear makeup. Have you noticed I have never wear weave in my head before? I don't know where you get tracks from. Like it's just like
I can tell you my competition's great.
Like it's just I think the black man got worse. It's just like my boyfriend drives a bright car that's fast and he's nervous. I get so nervous every time he comes home from work and it's like I get scared because I'm like this is a fast car at night and the cops are everywhere. It could stop him and it could be random. It'd be like, oh, you're going 20 miles over speed limit, but he was going to speed limit. Or he was want to see if that's his real car. Like it's just black men got it worse because like if you see like Trayvon Martin, like he was in this black hoodie and he died. Like you guys got it worse. I'm not gonna lie. I just pray to every black man that I'm not saying don't go through this, but they see it. They be like, man, I'm just trying to like stay safe, live, vote black, be black, pay my bills, and just move on with life instead of being scared when I see a cop because it just I feel scared. My brother has gotten so many times he got stopped from a cop from like get searched by his car for no reason, like to see oh you were suspected with marijuana for what, like it's just I just think those are my two sides of racism with male and female in the black culture. So that's my saying.
What you think, Lex?
I think there's two different. There's a lot of different things I think plays into different factors that plays into how people oppress us as black women and black men. Black men, I see a lot of it being more physical. As a man, you're already more threatening in the eyes of many than a black woman. You're more threatening as a black man. Okay? So as a black woman, I think they kind of, like I mentioned earlier, they kind of oppress us by saying, attacking how we look, our self-esteem, our self-worth. Like we talked about earlier in the workplace, not promoting black women. They suppress us or they oppress us in a different way. They keep us tied down in a different way. Black men, they're more of a threat. They're more aggressors. Like you talked about pulling a man over. You've already made it up in your mind that this is a man. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be more aggressive than a female is. A female may get more warning than a black man. I mean, I think there's different factors, but just there's a lot going through my mind right now, so y'all bear with me.
No, you
But
take your time.
I just think when you look at it, the black man will be more of the aggressor in situations, but the woman, they're gonna find different ways to kind of keep you down, because at the end of the day, when something happens to a black man, if they have their mother in their life, they're gonna go back to their mother, the nurturer, the person that's gonna protect them, keep them safe, be that that rational person in their life that's gonna keep them grounded. If they break her down, our black man gonna get broken down too.
Right.
So I think that's just the way we gonna take care of her. So when we do something with him, the whole house just crumbles down. If that makes sense, y'all.
No,
Tell
that
me if
makes
I don't.
sense. That makes perfect sense.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Jocelyn, you got anything?
It's covert versus overt,
Mm-hmm.
right? So with black women, I think we see it more covertly, unconscious bias. You have, else, my expressions, and then like Lex was saying about, in the workspace. Whereas black men, it is it's clearly overt,
Without a doubt.
and I think that goes to kind of, it unfortunately goes back to, when we were first brought over here.
Yeah.
When black men were sold, they were sold as the bull,
Right.
Strong, his strength, right? And so you're always physically going to, it's always been physically, you are, like she said, the aggressor. So for you, there is no option for things to be covert, it's because it's in the open. Whereas black women, people going, you're opinion at work and they'll just laugh it off or overlook it until you get to a board meeting and they steal your idea, or something like that, right? So I think, unfortunately, it's historical in the context of how black men are treated in this country, and not just this country, because I think people always assume that race is an issue or racism is an issue in America. Nah, buddy, it's just pretty much everywhere. Anywhere that a ship landed, you got a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Facts.
Mm.
Jocelyn, you got the floor.
Yeah, I think y'all really tackled the topic. So I think my only thing I would add in, I think kind of looking at both sides of it, is the bottom line is assumption and association. I think that's where a lot of issues stem from, and I think for the woman, it's more assumption. We assume how she's going to act, we assume how she's going to react, we assume what she's going to be and what her role is supposed to be. And then the black man, gets associated, like we've said, being aggressive, being mean, being, power in a negative light. And, and that's just something that, and I think, we want to talk about trends that are happening. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed, from my circle that's in social media, is people growing and learning about their unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And I think, for those that are maybe taking a backpedal on the true how can I help, it's recognizing what they're guilty of in their personal bias.
I wonder when you all go from being cute little boys to threatening, because there's a shift in your once you turn a certain age, now you become threatening, because prior to then you're this adorable little boy.
I think
And then you make
right around junior high, man. Crazy. Right. I think at least as far as I know, my treatment was different. Like right when I, when you get out of elementary, you know what I mean. You start working your way, toward middle school, junior high age. You know what I mean. I think after 10, that's when things start changing for sure. Because it's really a kind of a two-pronged thing. I mean, for the woman, it's you. It's just weird. It's like actions done, out of either fear on the male side or disdain on the female side. That's it. So I don't know, I don't know, when it happens. I mean, if, like I said, we talk about our parents and everything. Like as far as daddy's concerned, you're always going to be his little girl, no matter how old you get. When mama sees you as her son, you're always going to be mama's boy, as long as, as long as you walk the earth. I mean, it's like that for me now. Like, I mean, I still answer my mama like, I still I still have when I go home and visit, it's 9 o'clock curfew, just like it was when I was in school. So it's one of those things where like while you never really change in the eyes of those that love you, outside of your family circle, I do believe around 10 like on both sides around 10, like I mean, because you stop looking the same. You don't look like a little boy anymore. You're not shaped like a little girl anymore. You start coming into your own. So um I feel as appearances change, so does the view of the cuteness and the innocent look. It just, at least as far as me and my sister, that's when things started changing for us. Was around 10. Physically you start changing. You don't look like a little kid. You don't have the chubby cheeks and all that anymore. Like you start growing into whomever you're gonna end up being. So and that's just weird. Because it's everybody's cute till they're a threat. That's crazy. Oh, got a question for you. Who are your black heroes? We can't use Tyra again. So who are your black heroes?
Okay. I'm gonna say Serena Williams, because she is a black woman who's been through a lot, and then now she's like everybody. Like, she is a very strong woman.
Indeed.
Like,
Indeed.
strong. And like she doesn't really care what she wears. She says she looks good at anything.
Right.
Me, I don't look good in everything. I got some strong shoulders and I don't look good in a dress. So just like,
Y'all, this I gotta mute myself.
like it's just she like me. I'm not a super girly person, because I was wearing sports. I was wearing basketball shorts, Nikes all day long. I never wore dresses, heels, and all that. But she can doggone romp her in a dress. Like, it just feels like she's comfortable with her body, and I'm like, I'm trying to be like her. She looks swollen as CC, man, but she real.
Right.
Like you can't lie. You know she big.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think she's my black hero because she actually, like, she's comfortable with herself and she knows she look good. Me, I'm still kind of getting used to my body and my frame. So that's what I think she's my hero.
I'm with it. Lex, what you got?
I don't hear Mel's talking. Mel's been quiet.
We listen. I said from the jump, we're here to listen. The only reason I'm talking is just to steer it along.
I had a question the last time for the guys, but I'll wait to the end.
Okay, we'll let y'all do y'all's questions at the end, but this is y'all's floor.
All right. So am I next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think my black hero, I have one that's, kind of just somewhat like a celebrity. Not even a celebrity, but somebody that was well known and somebody in my life personally.
Okay.
I'll talk about the one in my life personally first. My grandmother. My grandmother passed away when I was about 3 years old. But she was a strong black woman in a city where there's a lot of diversity, but this city that I'm in started, based off people that were racist.
Right.
As is a lot of other cities, and out of all of that, both my grandfather and my grandmother, they were both two black people in the community that really set the movement on something. My grandmother was a black nurse, and she was one of the few, and she made a name for herself. She worked hard. Of course, people talked about her. Of course, people did things to sabotage her, but she worked hard and she made a name for herself. And the same thing with my grandfather, one of the first black and few at the time electricians at the time.
Right.
So things like that speak volumes to me because of course, they weren't like well known in the world, but they took their situation and they built themselves up by their
Right.
own, you know. But person that's well known probably be me, Miss Simone.
Oh,
I take a
nice.
music approach because when we down, when we're being shut up, one of the first things we turn to is music.
Indeed.
And music was a way to communicate, still is, and I think that's why it's so powerful right now. Is what we put on our music is what we're communicating to our community. They're listening, even if they're not understanding. They're hearing it every day.
Right.
It's playing over and over, and eventually, what you're hearing is going to become a part of your life. Like I said, speak it into the atmosphere. If you playing it, you're gonna pick it up.
Facts.
And one day, you know, without thinking about it, you're like, oh dang, I didn't even know that was in that song.
Right.
I do it all the time, you know. So in her music, she spoke about things that were current, that were, you know, relevant at the time. And one of the songs that she sang, "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood," like that spoke volumes to me.
Right.
Because she's saying, yes, I'm not always happy, but when I'm upset, don't think that something's wrong. Don't think that I'm being mean. Don't think that I'm acting out of character. That's just I'm human. I'm human. I'm a black woman, but I'm human.
Okay.
And just like everybody else, you know, I have my ups and downs. So please don't misunderstand me just because I'm being human.
Well said. I like that. I like that a lot. Who's next?
Jocelyn, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I can go. I feel like whenever this question is asked, you know, whether it's, you know, who is your hero, blanket statement, you know, and, you know, who is now your hero for a black female, I constantly always like to look at heroes from, you know, people I know personally. And I think like something that has been you know, talk about just my family and, you know, my dad's mom, which is my Nana. She unfortunately passed, you know, right before I got the job to move to Texas. And she just was such a woman of character and strength. And, you know, it's interesting too, just to learn more about her legacy now that he's gone, but also to understand the role she played in my life while she was here, but also, you know, recognizing like, you know, when you're so young, you're just like, oh yeah, like she did this, she did this, she did this, but then you think about the time that it was when she accomplished all those things. Or like retiring in the early 90s after being a member of like an educational testing service for 45 years as like a director, you know, and like being on, you know, a team of the local board of education, you know, and like having prominent leadership roles, you know, kind of like how we were talking earlier about like, you know, like that representation and being that person, and like it really makes you learn and think about what she signified in the community. You know, and like we don't live in that area where my dad grew up, but you know, I did visit it a lot as a kid, and so it just gets you thinking. I definitely value, you know, she constantly was always just telling me to dream big and go after the things, you know, and I think it was like those smaller tokens of push without being like, you know, this is what you have to do or this is what you need to do. This is what you're called to do. It's kind of like lying and paving the way, or not even paving the way, like laying a gravel road for me to pave it myself. And, you know, and so I like to feel that, you know, she's with me through this whole new journey, even though she can't come to physically visit. She's here, and like we can get through this together.
I like that.
Right.
Debbie, it's you. Who is your hero?
I wanted to say my mother, for sure. My mom is dope. Like, knock on wood, when she goes to heaven, God's gonna look at her and say, "I did a really good job.
Right.
Well done."
Right.
Like my mom is dope. Like, I think that my mom grew up in rural Mississippi. She was born in 1947. They moved to Chicago in 1962. My grandparents were sharecroppers. My mother is she's mixed. And it was very difficult being the only mixed child of a Black woman in Mississippi that has 14 children, and you're the only mixed one.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom, I mean, I've seen her fight and claw, and I have 12 siblings, right? So my mom's dope. Like, it'd be my mom, and I think the next probably would be Desmond Tutu. He's dope. Like, him and the Dalai Lama wrote a book called The Book of Joy. Is I'm an avid reader, one of my all-time favorite books, and he's pretty dope. And y'all laugh, but I love Mariah. I love Michelle Obama. And Beyonce. Like, those would be my top three. And then I really have an affinity for Cicely Tyson too.
Oh, like, yeah.
Her, like, that's my girl. So, but if all them, my mom, man, because I definitely wouldn't be who I am without her. Period.
Well, the part that always kind of, you know, it always just kind of amazes me in terms of just how weird we are in terms of our treatment of not just Black women, but women in general, but really and truly how weird we are about Black women. I mean, just, you know, some of the people that y'all mentioned are literally some of the most popular, if not the most popular people that are walking the planet, right? Beyonce, by all means, is probably the most popular musician that's walking the planet as we speak. The same thing can be said about Serena Williams. Arguably one of the, if not the most popular athlete that is walking the planet as we speak, regardless of gender. So much so, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, aside from Michael Jordan and LeBron James, she has a full center that's being named after her, you know, in the Nike headquarters. That hasn't been done by anyone. Tiger Woods has one, but you know what I mean. But Tiger's Tiger right now.
No, I'm trying to think of other athletes.
Yeah.
And that's Tiger popped in my head.
Like, I think. Say again.
Is he a Nike athlete?
He's a Nike athlete. He has. I mean, he's had one, but he's had one, but it's not at this new world headquarters. Yeah. So for me, it's, you know, it's crazy, like how, you know, you could go down a list of the top 10 most popular people walking the planet, and I mean, I'm sure LeBron James is going to pop up there. And regardless of Tiger's record or, you know, all the stuff that Tiger's gone through, he'd be one of those. You know, you're going to be hard pressed for your top 10 athletes not to be at least 70% Black. On top of that, in terms of just most popular people that are just on the planet, I mean, it's going to be hard not to mention. It's going to be very, very hard not to mention Serena. It's going to be very hard not to mention Michelle. You know,
but I also think people forget Serena and Venus's, like, place in history.
Yes,
like, they are historical
Yeah.
figures. I remember them playing with them beads in their hair, and it wasn't cool. I remember.
Oh, they got in trouble. Remember, they made a big stink about them when they're.
Moved them out because they weren't welcome there. Like,
they make the strong argument that they are the athletes of the decade. Oh my God. It's a good argument too, because they shook a lot of things and changed a lot of things, and they didn't budge at all.
And the dad was not for play.
Not at all.
Nah.
Period. So I think a lot of people forget that, like, yo, Serena and Venus were
from Compton. They forget.
Yeah.
They're from Compton.
Because all these new girls of color interested in tennis. I would be very surprised if any of them would say the reason I play tennis is not because of Venus and Serena.
Yeah, I mean,
that's impossible.
It's just
I ain't gonna lie to you. I picked up a tennis racket when I saw them playing tennis.
I was like, I want to do this. Let's go back to the track and field.
Can you see me right now playing some tennis?
I mean, you get a couple rounds in. You know, you don't got to finish. You can, as long as you start. You know what I'm saying? I agree. I agree. You know, it's one of those things, man. You look back on all that they've accomplished, all that they've done, and it's crazy because you see. I don't even know when that flip flop happened, but you saw that flip flop because when they first started, Venus was killing the game, absolutely killing the game, and then man, I don't know, maybe it was like I think it's like that third or fourth Wimbledon. Things kind of. It was after the first Olympics they played doubles, and Serena's came like with. Man, I used to be a huge Venus fan. I'm like, Serena's all right, and it switched, and she took off and never looked back. And like honestly, he's one of the greatest athletes.
When they played each other, I was cheering so hard for Serena to beat Venus because I remember Venus had beat her every time. Y'all don't even know I was in there.
Hey, Venus used to be. Woo. I just feel like Venus aged as an athlete quicker. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like Venus technically is a better player than Serena.
Oh, without a doubt. She's. It's just like, but Venus is built like Joe though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So she's got that long leg you build like that's not sustainable, man. Not going against Serena. She's a damn powerhouse. Okay, so I'm gonna ask. Oh, I'm gonna ask this one because I like this one a lot actually. How do you build a community with other Black women and allies? Like these are questions that Ian so graciously left us, just in case he couldn't make it. One of his questions were, how can you build a community with other Black women and allies? Are there ways that you see yourselves being able to build a community like with other Black women? I mean, I'm sure there are, but what are some specifics that you can think of?
Well, I have one, right? Me and my girlfriends have been friends since, I think my newest friend I met in powerlifting in 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my group of girlfriends, we met either, I was 6 years old, then I met some in college, and then I met Gwen as a powerlifter.
Right.
But I think that community, you have to have very like-minded people for future goals. It don't have to be like-minded. It's we have to do everything the same, but your future goals. So what you see that your future being, they have to align. It's kind of like when your grandma used to say, "Don't marry that boy or that girl because they're not evenly yoked."
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of a friendship, right? In building communities, I for one have been very, very fortunate in my career path that pretty much everywhere I worked, I had a really, really strong woman leader. I mean, and it's rare, because I'm basically rare in my industry, but when I tell people that, they're like, how did you get this many women leaders? Because when I got on, I was looking for mentors. So That's kind of how it started, right? Like my girlfriends are my girlfriends, and then I started to build my professional group of women. And what you do is you find somebody that has similar goals or looks like what you want to be, and you ask them to mentor. And 9 times out of 10, they will tell you, "Hey, they may not have time to do it, but I have somebody that will has the time." So I think that's kind of how you start it, and then you just kind of build from there.
I like that.
But mentorship is two-way street. I tell people this all the time. You can't just expect your mentor to do all the work. The mentee is probably the person that does most of the work in a mentor-mentee relationship, because your mentor probably has 75,000 things going on.
Right.
And so it's going to be your job to keep that relationship afloat and you guys get to a point where it's going to become, I guess, mutually beneficial.
Like, I would like Jocelyn to speak on this one because I actually get to see it firsthand. Probably one of the best people that I've ever witnessed with my two brown eyes of just not only networking, but just there's certain people that you watch and you have in your life. You watch, like, I mean, literally, I feel like she can make a friend with anyone that walks in the room. She will listen to anyone that has anything that they have to say. Makes everyone feel like their conversation is the most important conversation that's going on, and most importantly, she remembers everyone. I don't remember names like she does. That's why she's the head honcho. But I'm interested in kind of hearing your thoughts on it, because you've done such a good job just from what I've been able to watch. Because again, you came to Texas knowing no one. I mean, you knew me a little bit, but you came to Texas knowing no one. Like sure you have your group of friends and everything, but just watching you just on an everyday basis at the workplace, like y'all. I mean, she's as sweet as she can be, but she's an absolute beast, dude. So like I'm excited. I'm excited. That's why I picked this one because I want to hear what you have to say. How do you build community with with other Black women? Because we're lucky because we do have quite a few Black women that work in the athletic department. And so like I'm able to kind of watch her, work the rounds and really just do her thing. So please, Jocelyn, you got the floor. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so nice, LS.
That's all you're gonna get. That's all you're gonna get.
I think the most important thing is people, like all people, want to be heard. And they might just be talking crazy. They might just need to get something off their chest. But I think in order to be the best leader, you have to be a listener. And like in a listener, in an intent that like you are engaged in listening, not only just to listen to try to figure out how to find a solution, because there's a lot of times where I open my door and open a book for a conversation, and I might forefront if I know the topic, and I'm like, hey, I most likely might not have the answer, but I'm here.
Right.
I'm here for you. And I think that's something that just goes a long way. And and as it comes from like me being a people person or me being a coach, I can like even think back into high school, whether it was a dynamic of the way our team worked or like the youth age kids that I was coaching. Like I would always be, I am very strong minded. I am, if I know there's something, I know I have to work hard to get it. I know that, you have to do good in school and behave and you can, get the rewards of whatever you want in life. But I just remember having a situation, whether it was a friend or whether it was someone, I was working with, and I didn't understand their reaction and I didn't understand their behavior and I didn't know why they were doing it. And I felt myself like, have that out of body experience and being like, get out of your head and try to get into their head.
Right.
And relate. And I feel like that relation is so important. I think when we get to, careers or if we get into leadership roles, sometimes we become so narrow minded that we just want everybody to see how we see. And it's unrealistic. And I just think it's so important where I'm like, and when it comes to cheerleading, like you naturally are happy.
Right. Right.
But it comes from a place, there's a difference of being a light switch, of being like turning it on and turning off as in you're a fake person.
Right.
Or taking that approach of when to rise to the occasion, when to, decide you're not tired and this is what you have to do, or to decide, these are the people, I want to engage with, to not only better them or better you. And I think it's a two-way street. And that's what I tell all my athletes. I'm like, as much as you, hopefully are learning from me, you guys continue to teach me so much. Right. And as soon as I'm not learning anymore, I don't have a purpose to be a leader. I don't have a purpose to be a leader because if I'm not learning from those I'm surrounding my time with, I can't relate. I can't, and I can't get the best from them or get the culture that we want or the goals accomplished, because it all comes down to that, level of relation. And I think like with community. And so with that, you connect, with others and like you said, the people that are like-minded. And unfortunately, like that's a big thing that I always say, like, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent with your character. And I know if somebody is upset by something I did and I can self-reflect and know that I meant no harm and know that I meant no wrong and I can go to bed without that gut feeling in my stomach, then that's on them to maybe learn the experience hours later, days later, months later, a year later. And I just want you to have that light bulb moment and be like, okay, that's what she meant. Like, this is what it was preparing me for.
That's what's up. Lex, what you got?
I think Jocelyn hit on some really good points. And just when you talking about your job and how you communicate with your athletes, it really mirrors what's going on right now in our world right now. We all have one common goal. As a cheerleader, you have one common goal. Right. but not all of us will see how we get there the same way.
Right.
We may have, we may rationalize with one decision differently than someone else. So, like you said, listening, but truly trying to understand where everybody else in this community comes from. A community just living down the street from someone, I may have a different opinion than my neighbor has.
Indeed.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we have to understand that to get to a goal, there are different ways to accomplish those goals. Being having like-minded people may be for that specific goal, like our general goal, and then we have one specific goal. Maybe we need to get with like-minded people to get this goal right.
Right.
But understand that there's no one way to do anything, and to truly understand each other. That's how the bond, the relationship in our community is going to get better. Especially right now, whether people are protesting, whether people are looting, whether people are rioting, whatever the case may be. I know personally, me, I'm speaking on my behalf. I'm not gonna bust somebody's store up. I can't do that.
I feel you.
But I can't tell somebody that they can't react that way because
Right.
they may have something else in life that caused them to react that way.
Indeed.
Personally, me, I'll protest or bring social awareness because I know that I interact with some people on my social media. So I know if I post something, somebody's gonna see it. At least it's gonna cross somebody's eyes.
Right.
So that's really all I have about that.
I like that. I like that. What you got, Jazzy?
So I think women are very prideful. Like they think that they can do everything. Like they think they don't need help from no man, no woman, mom, dad, anybody. And then that's a big thing that we need to like change because we can do it. Like we're strong women, but there's some point of time that we might need some help or might need a support system because we might be I don't have any kids. So I don't know how it is to raise kids, pay the bills, and like I'm still in school. Like I pay for school and everything, so I don't like I know how to pay bills, but when it comes to parenting and all that, I have no idea how it is. But
Right.
when it comes to parenting, paying bills, working, trying to keep your food on the table, there's a lot going on in this mind.
Right.
But we're very prideful that oh, I need no help. Oh, I can do this. I'm like,
Right.
but I can see you eating a grain of rice every day.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, I think we should maybe help, like you said, help the community. Like you should maybe go out to women and say, hey, what do you think we should change? You think we
Right.
should like help and say, hey, you need like, um, you should maybe like provide more food for your kids, maybe more money for your job, or maybe more time off to be with your kids, like
Right.
something like that. Because like there's some people who really need help. Like there are some people who be struggling but still don't want to say nothing.
Right.
Like I yeah, like I said, I don't have any kids out in Jocelyn. I don't know if you guys have any kids or not, but I don't know how it feels to raise kids, have a baby, go through all of that. I
Right.
don't know. But like I said, we're very prideful, and I think we should like out like say something, say, hey, I I might need some help or like
Right.
some guidance or something. Because when you're doing something like when you're in like a certain spot and you're comfortable with it, you don't want to like overexpand. Like you don't want to go to college, you don't want to move out that neighborhood, you don't want to get that promotion. You want to stay in that one spot because you're comfortable. You're not prideful enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna do better. Like I'm
Yeah.
good right here. Like
Yes.
women like need to like I'm not saying some, like not all women, but some women, most
Right.
women like can are very prideful for like what they're doing now.
Right.
But like I said, we need to speak out more and say, hey, um, I need a little bit help with maybe watching the kids while I go work and make some
Right.
money.
Well,
Or
I'll
hey,
ask you this question while you're on that. Do you feel that a lot of that pride? I'm not gonna say it's a defense mechanism, but a lot of that pride is developed, as a result of, being, I don't know the term being held down for so long, but maybe being looked down upon, being, treated as lesser than, so that, I mean, one starts to develop more pride in what they do. So, I mean, because let's say you're by yourself, maybe you're on your own, maybe it's just you and your kids, right? Um, and you've been treated as such, along the lines of, you know what, you're not able to do this, you're unworthy for this, you can't do this, and you do get a point in your life where, you know what, I am providing for my kids, I am multitasking in doing as many things as physically possible. And I'm at a crossroads in my life right now where I could go ask for help, or B, keep going and working as hard as I can with what I have. You know what I mean? And I mean, because you didn't want to help me before, why would I expect help from you now? And I've seen, I mean, I've seen a few of my own relatives that have kind of been in that kind of stuck in that that point where they wanted help, they needed help, and they didn't receive any type of help, and somehow, some way, not only did they educate themselves, but they put themselves in such a better position. And when they did get to that point where they kind of they almost recrossed that path in terms of the crossroads of like, I need help or I need to keep going, they chose not to get the help, but rather to keep going because they were not only were they, like you said, prideful, Jasmine, but I mean, I felt like I almost feel like sometimes that pride is earned and it almost needs to be respected just out of the jump. I mean, and it's their prerogative whether or not they want to ask for help or not. It could be detrimental. I mean, to the to them and the family, in the long run. But I mean, it's hard for me, especially as a man, to say like, well, man, you may need to ask for some help. You know what I mean? Like, and that could be a huge thing in terms of women relating to women. Like, baby girl, I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. This that would be something like, you know what I mean? Like, with dudes, we have OG. OG will tell you a lot of times, hey man, that's not the way to move. That's not, what I mean, that's probably not how you want to do it. And there might be, somebody that's gone through there, or know somebody that's kind of gone through that to be like, hey, this may be a time that, that you want to ask for help. And even if you don't, I know that you need it. Let me be the one to help you. I mean, again, in terms of community, I mean, a man can only help a woman so much, but I believe women can help women more than a man can help a woman because of the way that you can relate to one another, the way that you communicate with one another.
Yeah,
Like, again,
yeah, because women.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, because women, like I said, we know where we coming from, but the thing is, I'm not old enough to know or been through the situations that we're going through. I never, like, I wasn't like, because there's some women who, like, for example, like, if a couple of examples, like, what if a girl got pregnant at 13, parents kick you out, what you gonna do then?
Right.
Like, the thing is, like, they've been on their own since that day.
Right.
And so they're too prideful enough to go back to their parents. So they kick them out. Like, I can do this myself. Like, I don't need them. Like, that, or if when you like 17 or 18, your parents die or something like that, like in a car crash, you by yourself and you have like two younger siblings, you need to provide for them.
Right.
And say, hey, I need to get a job, anything necessary to put food on my siblings' table.
Right.
I don't ask for no help. I've been doing this since I was 18. Like,
Right.
You've heard people say,
oh yeah,
I've been doing this since I'm 18. I know how to do this.
Right.
Like, and then there's another thing of people asking for too much. Like, it's men and women. Women is like, I need some more of this. Like, can you help me with this? Like, you got it. You got it. Like, it's just like, you need to like not spoil them too much, but let them know like how life works.
Right.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like I want to help women, but you know how some women and men are like manipulative.
Oh
like,
yeah.
They can say like, hey, like can you do this for me and I'll do this, and then you doing most of the work, and while I just sit back chill. Like,
oh yeah.
it's just like
you getting finessed. You got the people out there that'll finesse you for sure. I mean,
exactly. So you need to know how to be like, hey, how about this? How about you do half of the work and I do the other half of the work?
But then I think that's where it's so strong with the whole idea behind community is so strong because again, it I'm a firm believer in it really does take a village. You know what I mean? And I feel like, I mean, to be honest, I mean, from our beginnings, man, we came from tribes. You know what I mean? And I do believe that, that tribe mentality, that that village mentality is so important in terms of just anyone's development, men and women alike. But I definitely feel, like with women, the ability to create a community, the ability to create allies, seems, at least from my perspective, and from what I've been able to see, and especially with kind of watching Jocelyn, because again, like, I literally have a living, breathing example. It just seems like it just creates that much more power because I do believe there's strength in numbers. I do believe when you're, kind of like Tavia talked about, when you're around like-minded people, with goals that coincide with what you're trying to accomplish, to be bigger, better, stronger, and to do more with your life tomorrow than you're doing with it today. I do believe that that tide raises all ships, and so I feel like you're less likely to be run over. I feel like you're less likely to be ignored because you are amongst a bunch of people that really want to accomplish something. So again, for me, I think again it's just me talking. I think that's huge in terms of building a community and building those allies. I do know that Lex, you had your questions. You asked your question, whatever I don't know what it is, but I know Lex had a question. You asked questions because we're gonna get ready to kind of wrap this up. And if we do have any questions that people DM'd or messaged, I'll get to them.
Question. It's kind of one.
What?
You keep cutting in and out.
It's stopping, man.
You cutting out, Darrington. Try it again. You cutting out again.
But while he's doing that, let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, if you guys are living like a good job or whatever, right? And you have a boss that like a white boss, we say that white boss, and he treats you like, okay, let me say, these are over. This job pays you good money. I mean, like $80,000, $90,000 a year, like good life. Like you support your family and that. So this white boss, if he has so much power over you that makes you just want to just like make you just out punch a wall or something like that, would you guys keep that job to support your family, or would you just move on? Like, I'm done. Because I'm saying this because I've been in that situation. I've been in that situation when I was making a great amount of money, like a good amount of money, like a fresh out of college. Like I was like, man, I like this job. Like it don't pay much, but hey, it's good starting off. So I had a boss that he had like all types of certifications. Like he was a PT, he was a CS, he was this, he was every single alphabet letter was after his name.
Right, all that.
I'm just a fresh college student, just got this job, and he expects me to know everything. Like, you know, when you're in college, you know, maybe like that much, and then like for 4 years of this much, like, you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, he kept talking to me like, what's like, if you don't know, I'm in school for occupational therapy, and he's a PT, and so he'd be like, what's the muscles of this? What's this bone? What's this? I'm like, I haven't took anatomy in like 3 years. I just passed it and moved on. But the thing is, he talks. Like you don't even lie to me. You know for a fact that happens in school. But anyway, he talks to me like I'm just stupid. He'd be like, well, you graduated college, I guess. So like he talks to me like like he just bad. But when I tell you this job pays good, like I can pay my car note, get myself my hair done, my nails, toes, and I still got some money to do a lot of stuff.
Right.
But the thing is, I couldn't stand going with this man every time I go there. Like I want to get out of bed and be like, I can't. Like I mean, like I don't. I'm not. Like I don't. Like I do want to go to work. Like to be excited to go to work. When I get up, I'm like, I gotta deal with this man all day. Like. So if you guys were in that situation, what would you guys do?
Eric, let Reggie. Let Reggie hold this one down. You got to
wait. Hold on a second.
Yeah, so I kind of have some experience with that because the job I used to work at, like that boss was like he was off, man. Like he was just talk to people like crazy, right? So it is hard, but like you have to have a plan, right? Because obviously, like you have to pay your bills regardless of the situation. So you just have to come up with a plan, and when you go there, just like you have to ignore him, but yet listen to him, like to what can keep your job, right? Because you have to kind of realize with a lot of these like companies, there's people like who has all their degrees and all that, so they have a high IQ, but their emotional intelligence is extremely low. Like they can't manage their own emotions. They're not good at like gauging other people's emotions, or like just stuff like that. So that's what happens, I think, a lot in America as far as corporations. You have these guys who know how to get the money, understand like the system and all that, but as far as managing people and talking to people, they're terrible. So that's a pretty common problem. Right. So yeah, you just have to come up with a plan and then just ride it out. That's.
Now, is this a question for the men or the women?
This is for both. This is the open chat. Say what y'all want to say. I just want to hear y'all's answer because I pulled it through because he was leaving like in a month, and I was like, okay, thank God. So, and then like a
No, man, someone would be crazy in it, man. They be...
when I tell you I found out, bro, my frown went to like a smile, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
And like, but the thing is, that's beside the point. I just wanted to see what you guys would think. I mean, like working with this man or woman for years, years. I want to see what you guys think.
She had something to say though. She was muted. You muted. You had to unmute yourself. What you got?
So, when I was your, I think my voice was discounted a lot, but I'm kind of a bully, so it didn't really faze me. But in that situation, what I would encourage you to do, and I would tell anybody this, you cannot put a price on your peace.
Thank you.
Your divine, you cannot put a price on it. So like Reggie said, you have to have a plan and to get out fast, because your peace, I protect my peace at all costs, y'all. And you did the right thing by getting out.
I'm telling you.
You have, and honestly, sometimes even if you don't have a job, I'm a Christian, right? I'm faithful. So even if you don't have a job, if that gets to where your blood pressure is high, every day you got to walk in there and be like, man, I hate this place. It's time to go. And you got to walk out of faith. I promise you, you cannot put a price on your peace.
I'm telling you. Whew, Lord.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's why I asked you, was it for the men or the women?
It's like, let me tell you what I did.
Literally going to say that. Like, yeah. I mean, it's, at what point do you say my mental health is more important? I mean, just in our community alone, how many Black people have mental health problems because of things that are going on in their life that they just trying to deal with? I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to handle it because I have nothing else to do. I have no other place to go. So I'm going to just deal with it for now. And then that now turns into 5 years and 10 years, and you're dealing with the same thing, getting up, going home upset because something happened at work. Getting up in the morning, your day already started bad because you just don't feel like going to work. I got to go to this job. So just that mental health. And one thing is, too, also in the Black community, mental health is such a topic that is not talked about enough. Especially mental health in our Black men is not talked about enough. So many of our Black men are suffering from some type of mental health issue, and they don't get it checked out. They don't talk to people about it, and they carry that burden on their shoulders. And so when we talked about, do we think our men and women got it worse? Sometimes I'm putting it on our men because I know how much baggage they have on their shoulder that they haven't let out because they're supposed to be strong, or back to the pride, being prideful. Afraid to ask for help because that's viewed as being weak.
Right.
Yeah, because I was just about to say that, because men, I'm saying women do got a lot of stress on them, but men, I'm not gonna lie, men got some stress on their hands, especially when you have a wife and some children. So when I see my man, I expect him to be the king. Like, he provide for me if I'm in my lowest. Like, I think like he can do anything, but that's so much pressure on a man. They have to do what they need to do to let their woman or their children see that. And even dealing with this boss that makes you cringe. And the thing is, I think men get treated worse in jobs like that, especially like higher up jobs, because they just think, oh, Black men, like, you know what I mean. We all have heard of it. But I think Black women, they do have it bad, but more of when they're okay, so they think women can't do this, women can't do that. Only women is more like for example, women are more nurses than doctors. Like, you get what I mean? Like, they're more of that under than that top.
Right.
Like, it's just they downgrade women very badly.
Right.
Like, don't even like people are like no, not that bad. And yes, they do like badly. And the thing is, like even when they get up there, they be like, "Oh, woman up here, she gonna be here like a couple of weeks," or they be trying to hit on a woman. Like because I think women get more, especially higher up, get more like um what's that word at a job when you get like touched on and
Oh, and harassed and
get harassed. You get more harassed, especially by a higher up. And when you need that job, you have to say it. But I think if a woman gets harassed in any way, it could be like something that's sexual, and it could be something that was like rude. Like you should be like, But the thing is, like, people ain't gonna believe women. Like, like they're gonna be like, oh, she'll be all right. Like, I think it's both ways.
Darrington, I feel like you got something you want to say. Wait, are you able to speak? No, I'm not being funny. I was asking.
I think it's something wrong with my Wi-Fi.
No, you good now? I can hear you. You hear you now?
You sound better. I hear you now.
Okay. So it was kind of about the question that we had last week in regards to how people who have friends of color have this type of conversation with their friends, and then also just why it never comes up. And I think for most of us, the answer ended up being pride. So I just wanted to know if it was the same thing for y'all, and how would y'all advise people to go about having this conversation with their friends of color?
Wait, I'm confused.
Like this specific
Have this conversation,
or just this conversation in general?
Yeah, so like we're having this conversation about how we can help other Black people in the Black communities. So what the question was, he was asking, I guess he was a white guy, but he was asking how can he have this conversation with his Black friends.
Oh, I get what you mean. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I have some white friends, but I want them to be open with me, but be respectful.
Right.
Like they can be like, hey, like say what you want to say. Like I've heard of like nothing affects me. Like if you don't say the N word, we good. But it's like it's everything. I think it can be open. If there was a white man out here or a white woman, I'd be like, be open, ask questions. Like don't be scared of us. Like we're gonna be honest with you, you be honest with us. But like just be respectful, but be honest. Like does that make sense? Like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of been one thing that when I left off to college, I went to a small liberal arts school in Midwest Ohio.
Right. Ooh.
So yeah. So most of the people that I went to school with were white.
Right.
The only people of color on campus were some that were local and those that were on some type of scholarship or to play sports. That's how it was. At that school, they did a very good job and a specific program on campus where we had these conversations in a debate form. So no argument, no type of. We try to keep the emotions to a minimum, but to have an open conversation and say, once we step through this door, we're going to say what we say in the most respectful way possible.
Right.
But we're not going to filter anything. Say what you have to say. This is the time to say it. And once we leave this door or this room, we don't judge each other based off what was said in here, because the purpose of being here is to understand each other, to find some type of common ground. And one thing I learned, matter of fact, my roommate my freshman year, she told me right off the bat, the only Black person she saw was half Black in her life.
Mm-hmm.
In her life. My teammate, he had a conversation with me and he had never seen a Black person. And we stayed up till 5 a.m. having a conversation like this, saying, when I grew up, my parents taught me that Black people were evil. Black people were bad. I should not have association with Black people. And by the end of the conversation, we understood each other because it was a conversation. There was no hollering, no yelling at each other, but we knew that there was the elephant in the room, and we just had to put it out on tape.
Right.
And I encourage everybody. I've been having that with my friends now that are not people of color or Black people. Have those conversations. I don't care how hard it is, because eventually it's gonna come up. And you don't want to be having this conversation in the midst of people you don't know, and that just goes left.
Right.
You know, so just be open.
I saw a quote that said, "We can be friends and disagree on things, but our friendship will not survive a disagreement on racism."
That's
And I think that I was black. I'll tell y'all, the last 10 days have been very, very tough.
Indeed.
I mean, very tough, emotionally exhausted. And I, reached out to a couple of my girlfriends or whatever, and I had some real candid conversations, and I deleted a whole bunch of people because I like, remember when I said protect your peace? That includes shit like this. It is not my job to educate you on your racist behavior.
Right.
It is not my job to educate you on the systemic racism in this country. There are books in the library for that. So I just protect the peace. And I think that I did for my friends that reached out. I had a whole bunch of allies. They showed up and showed out. I feel like some of them went way harder than I even thought.
Man, listen, God.
I tell you, I was like, wait a minute. I had to go back and call my mom. Like, my mom's like, don't you say that. Like, some of my allies. I mean, and I appreciate those friends. And I appreciate the friends that actually did check in on me and say, hey, how are you feeling? And
they continue. They continue to check in on you.
I was traumatized. Yeah. I will tell y'all, I should have never watched the video. I didn't know what I was watching. And I still think I'm like having post-traumatic stress from it because I should have never watched the video.
Right.
Because I will tell y'all that these days I'm more Malcolm X than Martin.
Get out of here. I mean, but you know what? The thing is, I mean, I think it's like with anything, man. It's a part of the education process. You know what I mean? And it's as bad as it is, and as much as you. So what?
Okay, that's better. You were breaking up.
Okay, I just said it's kind of a part of the education process in that, while certainly you don't want to watch it, it's almost like you have to watch it.
Dude, I really wish I hadn't, because
what video are you guys talking about? I'm confused.
George Floyd's death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I shouldn't have watched it. Right. And I've been all my brothers and stuff. I'm like, don't watch it.
Like it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I will openly admit I read more about it than watched. I watched little clips. I had my sister watch it, and I was like, well, I have the link. You have the link. Watch it and tell me where to stop it. You know what I mean? And so she, and so, and I honestly I stopped it the first time I made it up. I stopped it when he was calling for his mama, and now it's like, well, already know. I'm as emo as they come. So, I mean, that's when I'm bawling like a baby. I'm like, okay, all right. Okay, cool. I'm going to have to come back and watch it again. But in watching it all the way through, I always feel like watching stuff like that makes you callous, hardens your heart a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And it does kind of disturb your peace. But, just from seeing it and knowing how, it's almost like, I think we touched on it earlier, kind of knowing who you are, knowing the type of person that you are. I kind of knew how I would probably react, knowing the outcome before really watching the video. So when I finally had an opportunity to kind of watch it, it was like, all right, I'm not gonna fly like I normally fly with it. But the rage that I think I initially would have felt, I wasn't. You know what I mean? I just felt, I felt more sick to my stomach. You know what I mean? That I just watched a public execution pretty much. So that I kind of approach from there. But what it did for me, at least, again speaking for myself, was just I mean, none of this would be happening had I not watched it. I wouldn't be having this dialogue with you guys in this capacity. I would be having dialogues with people, but not in this capacity. I don't know that I would have the courage to even reach out to you guys individually. Like, hey man, let's get something going to where we're speaking on issues that we're having more of a dialogue than we were before. Because I mean, I've been fortunate that I've run into each and every one of you guys individually, more than one occasion, so that we've been able to talk. But usually our talks are of a completely different nature. It's not of this nature.
Very surface level stuff,
Yeah,
right?
you know what I mean. And so, and this is, how many? Let's be 100 though. How many times, and this is an open question, but how many times you talk to any of your, what I'm saying, your friends of color, black, white, doesn't really matter, but how many times you talk to your friends of color about race issues? You never really do.
Me and my girlfriends though, we talk
Yeah.
about.
I got a couple people.
Are the
Yeah.
only
But it's not.
But
It's not. I'll talk to you more about your faith than I will about your race issues. You know what I'm saying? Like
I think I have some white friends that want to talk to me about it, and I'm like, at first I was like, why?
Yeah.
Because like it feels like I understand you want to know more about us, but like they want to know the stuff that's not necessary. I'm like, you need to learn about like what we go through, and then like because honestly, I think people should watch that video. It's bad. It's terrible. Like it's terrible. But people who are young, like younger than me, needs to see what like happens when people who have more privilege or power that do to us. Like that's like they need to know what's going on because if they don't, they can be like, "Oh, he died." I'm like, "No, you need to realize this is actual proof evidence. This man died for like suffered."
Yeah, I think the suffering was the big part. I mean, because we.
Yeah, and the thing is, there was no grown black man that going to scream out "mama," who was I forgot how old he was. He was 40 or some years old.
Yeah.
He screamed out "mama," crying. People like get off because he can't breathe. Like he was begging his man. Wasn't even doing nothing on the ground. Nothing. He was in handcuffs. How can you get up with handcuffs? Like you can't. But they just want to have that power to sit on his neck and say, you know what, he gonna sit down there and then shut up until he be quiet, then I'm gonna get up. And after he shut up, he still didn't get up. It's just people need to see what people who have power do to people who don't got power, which really irritates people. And especially and you see this George Floyd challenge going on, dude. That was so disrespectful. Like, what's that? So basically, there is some people who okay, I'm not gonna lie, white people who usually like gets down on the floor with their hands across their back, and then another white person gets on their neck and say George Floyd challenge.
Oh wow,
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
No, like it is a challenge, and then I'm like,
you know what? This is why I've been off social media right here.
Like this is
to stay off.
Like
I was talking to my mom about this, and I said that throughout history, right, every civil unrest, every social change, there's a catalyst. Emmett Till was that for the civil rights movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that George Floyd, and we're seeing it. You know, right. I think George Floyd did that for police brutality and just systemic racism in this country. I told my husband not to watch it. You know, I was like, don't. Like, I took that burden, right, brothers? I was like, don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. Because I need my brother husband to know they are more than that shit. Yeah. And that burden, that emotional trauma, I took that on me. I'm a husband like that. My husband's a mailman, and he delivers in a more than predominantly white neighborhood.
Right.
His route, right? Up North Georgia.
Oh, Lord.
I don't need him thinking about that while delivering.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, and I feel bad saying this, but I mean, he's thinking about that before the video ever popped off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the only thing that, at least for me as a black man, the only thing that changes, you know, that's different from, you know, Floyd being on the ground is that I can easily visualize one of my black brothers and sisters, you know, one of my black brothers really being that person on the ground. That's really the only thing, you know, that kind of changes. I no joke, man. I fear for the lives of, you know, of all my little cousins, you know what I mean? Of you know, obviously of my dad, you know, my uncles, you know, like any black man that I know that's on the move of any, you know, in any form or fashion, like I fear for their lives, and always have. You know what I mean? You hit a point where you see it enough, and you encounter it enough. And again, like, you know, we're in our 40s. We've seen a lot. Crazy to say,
you know what I mean? Like we're in that like phase we're like right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
We're coming out with our values, and then we also have the ability to use a computer.
Yeah,
So
and I mean the thing is, I mean, I mean our parents and grandparents aren't so far removed, especially our grandparents aren't so far removed from all that has gone on, and it's being 100. Like if you dig a little bit further down, your great grandfather, great grandmother either was a slave or pretty damn close to have been a slave. So I mean, and enough of those. I mean, and for me personally speaking, like I mean, I have that double whammy because I have I have one side of my family, that they were Native American. So then you have two different stories of struggle being passed on. I mean, so man, when you sit at the dinner table, man, and Granddaddy starts talking, bro, you start hearing some stuff you never thought you would ever hear before. You know what I mean? And you start hearing stories that have been passed down about stuff that I never thought really. I mean, man, maybe, but you don't hear it in the history books. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not gonna. I mean, all of that's been washed away magically. You know what I mean? So then you again, kind of how you talked about educating yourself. Like for one to educate themselves, man, it gives you a bit of freedom that you don't necessarily have within the walls of modern education. Like there are books that just aren't taught. There are books that aren't um, that aren't publicized. But there's a lot of content out there that people can get their hands on that can really open your eyes to a lot of stuff. I mean, and some people they'll never get that phrase. Like I feel more like Malcolm than I do like Martin. You know what I mean? But yet still those same people they will pop a a Martin Luther King show. If I see one with MLK quote on some stuff, I think I might lose my mind. Because at the end of the day, MLK was only one man. You know what I mean? What about Marcus Garvey? You know what I'm saying? Like, what about like? I mean, there are so many. You could give me a Mandela quote if you want. You can give me a Desmond Tutu quote if you want. I mean, there's tons and tons of black leaders that have really. You can give me an Aretha Franklin quote. But Martin wasn't the only one. But again, for me, that always kind of dives into what you're saying about education. People don't educate themselves because I mean, if you can be super, super general with it and just go like, all right, well, let's read on something on Martin Luther King. Martin wasn't the only person. You know what I mean? Like Martin was one of thousands, that were really trying to set it up for civil rights, or we're trying to get people to change their minds. I mean, you can hell, you know what? Give me a Langston Hughes poem, and I might be like, all right, cool. Are you working with a little bit of something? I mean, there's tons of black people that have touched the lives of thousands, millions, even that can really and have really impacted the whole idea of civil rights, the whole idea of anti-racism. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm kind of going off right now. I'm starting to get pissed off, and I shouldn't. But X,
Let me ask.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Let me ask you guys this, everybody. So I saw a quote which I have no idea how to feel on. This quote was, "You have to be fake to survive," and I was like, "Fake,
be fake."
And
to
I was
survive.
like, "No, I ain't gonna be no fake." But then I was thinking, I was like, "Wait a second, I'm not gonna lie. This is a white dominant world," and I was like, "You need to be a certain way to get where you want to be, like act like proper or talk white in a phone call, like or be like a certain way when you do an interview to get that interview. You can't like again. Don't get me wrong. I act like myself during an interview, but I have to say certain words or say a certain way or say a certain length, like not talk too much, like to get where I need to be.
Right.
Like, do you guys agree with that?
I don't know if fake is a good. It kind of relates to the same quote. We have to hide more of our anger more than yeah, like I have to sit here and smile at your face or whatnot, even if I don't like it, because I know I'm not going to get away with the same thing that this person that's not dark, a person of color,
right,
or whatnot. So I am going to have to portray a certain amount of fakeness and ungenuineness or whatnot around, even if I don't like you. So fake would be I for lack of a better term, I agree with it, because some people feel like, it's life. You do have to, you gotta live, you gotta survive and whatnot. But at the same time, like she said earlier, you gotta have peace of mind too. How much fakeness are you gonna allow yourself to portray before you like, fuck that? Like I'm not doing it no more or whatnot. It depends. It's like what James Baldwin said, when there's to be a Negro in this country is to be relatively conscious in a conscious state of rage all the time. We have that or whatnot. And if you're educated enough, and that's always going to be in you. I don't carry that everywhere and portray it. So that fakeness is, yes, it's something that we do on a daily basis or whatnot to a degree.
I agree. I wouldn't even call it, like you said, I wouldn't even call it fake, because this is one thing that I love about Black people. Because we could change it up. We could be diverse. It's why I said I love Black educated people, because, the way I talk at home may be different than how I talk at work. I go into work because I understand that it's a professional setting. And not that I change who I am. It's just that I know I have to communicate to somebody that doesn't quite understand me well in a different manner, so that they understand what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. So my message does not get misconstrued, or I'm not misunderstood. I have to communicate that. And that's why I love Black people, because we can be educated, we can be diverse. Not saying anybody else can't, but we can be diverse enough where I don't have to be fake to you, but I know when I'm around you, or when I'm talking to a particular person, okay, I got to leave that at home. But when I come home, I'm talking to my family like I'm talking to y'all right now. But when I go to work, hi, my name's Alexis Walker. You know what I'm saying? It's not being fake, but
it's being professional. I mean, there's a
right.
setting. It's not. I think assimilation may be the word instead of being fake.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Black are very good at adapting to their environment.
Yeah, because I just read this quote and I was like, fake is a really strong word, but it kind of relates to like what we're talking about. Because like I could say maybe you have to be professional to survive. People are like, yeah, duh. But I'm like, if I'm straight from the hood, but I work at AT&T, I can't talk like hood. Like you have to talk a certain way.
You what? I like that every day.
Yeah, I get you. Like me, like okay, for example, like me, I say certain words that my dad had taught me. Like, okay, like this certain brand of food, I say it like this. But when you over at the other side, you gotta say it like this. Like you can't talk like how you talk at home. Like for example, everyone know the little rice thing called rice-a-roni. I've been calling yellow rice for my whole life. I never knew what that thing was called.
It is yellow. I mean, you're defending.
It's a yellow rice.
The thing is, like, I never knew what that thing was called. I was like, I'm gonna have some yellow rice, and I was like, people are like, what is yellow rice?
Wait, why is LS laughing so hard?
I know y'all got LS dying over here.
It is yellow rice. Like, I don't understand why that's an issue.
It's like
yellow.
It is yellow.
Oh God. Get out of here.
It's just I was raised saying that.
Right.
Or like for example, like another example, in Texas, we say buggy instead of shopping cart. Like it just when you you have to like adjust. Like the thing is, it's not fake, but I have to talk my unnormal way. So like it's like to like when I talk to someone else because they can understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like that's considered fake, but that's like changing your
It's just honestly, it's a different language. To be honest, it's a different language. It's a different way of communication. I mean, it's just much like if you had a Spanish family, if you had a Latino family, they talk to each other in Spanish because I mean, you might have 4 or 5 of their family members in a group setting. Like, hey, you know what, Tia and Tio, they only speak Spanish, so I got to talk to them in Spanish. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean like you're gonna go to work, you know what I mean, at whatever your respective place that you're working at and start speaking in Spanish to somebody that does not speak the language at all. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with your vernacular. I mean, some Black families, like, I mean, you speak a certain way to your mom and dad that you don't speak, to your people at work. And again, for me, it's like I don't know that it's fake, but for me, it's like it's hell. I don't want to talk to you like I talk to my mom and daddy. You don't. I mean, you don't know me. I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if I'm if I'm sitting in in the the company cafeteria, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go up here and get this yellow rice. Y'all want some? You know how pissed off I would be if they looked at me like they didn't know what I was talking about. You know what I mean? So for me, it circles back to her talking about protecting your peace because again, if I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna say it again for some yellow rice, and they look at me like I'm crazy, I'm gonna be ready to fight somebody. So you know what I mean? Again, so I guess I'd have to say rice-a-roni. I don't eat it anyway, but I just never heard it called yellow rice, and I'm
Okay.
I also kind of have a
topic. Okay.
I kind of think that especially now, more and more people are just starting to like, especially the younger people are appreciating just like you talking like yourself, right? Because a lot of that professional talk, that's kind of just like that's white people, right? Like even if you go on YouTube, like in today's video, we're gonna do like that is white people, like that's like that's not because I'm hearing you guys talk and it all sounds clear. I understand what you're saying, so I feel like more and more like people want that, like okay, just talk how you talk, and so yeah.
I think a big thing is, and I kind of is like we're doing a big circle right now. Is like you're talking about when you're younger, and it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And you have this image of what that specific job is and what they portray. So I think sometimes, especially then once now, fast forward, you're in college, you're studying a field, you have an idea of what you want to become and what you want to be. You feel like sometimes you have to emulate that personality,
right.
And I think like something like, I know we've kind of even talked about the age gap. Like I know sometimes you can get a job and, there's even situations when they're like, oh, like you're very young. And so you feel when you're in this room with other people or you're fulfilling your role that you have to not only just act older or present yourself older, but make sure like you dot your I's and you cross your T's in whatever you're going to be presenting or whatever you bring yourself to the table. Because if something is not spot on, or if there's a question that comes up that maybe you're not prepared for, it's not because you're unknowledgeable.
Right.
It circles back to your age, and it has nothing to do whatever your topic is. It circles back, to your age. And like, when we talk about, obviously when we're talking about the Black community, we sometimes circle back into different cultures, into certain things. But like for me too, like another thing, like now I've been living in Texas for 3 years and I'm from New Jersey. You get associated with, the Northeast, you get lumped together with New York.
Yep.
It was 2013 when I was in college when the Jersey Shore was popular.
Right.
And so I, was friends with Snooki. And it's like, no, I'm not, and so like all those things were so easy in different categories, whether it's men or women, whether it's Black or white.
Right.
There's so many layers to all the people. And I think like that's like when, we find ourselves in the workplace or working with a team, we appreciate the different layers, and that's the different experiences and the different upbringings and the different backgrounds that we find a common ground in a community. And so I think what's before us right now is, that opportunity, now that whether it is, white friends that are reaching out, it's like all of us right here, we have a different experience.
Right.
We have different emotional, feelings that we've had, for the past couple of days, or maybe for you, it's uprooting things from years prior and different stuff. So like, we can't even explain each other, and kind of like how we said, it's not our job to really explain to others, but if we can help paint the picture, they'll never understand.
Yeah.
But they can, like the word we've kind of been using is you can kind of associate, or you can recognize. I think that's obvious. I think that's the best word, is you can recognize that there is a problem,
right?
So you can be a part of the solution.
Well said. Well said. We might have to end it on that. That's fire. That is fire. Yes.
I have a question. How many of y'all have an issue with your names at work?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I make them say my name correctly every time.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know LS' real name, so I've been calling you LS. I never knew your name.
Leon.
That is my name. It is my name.
Trust me, I ask him every year for our flights. I'm like, remind me what
and every year I get left behind at the thing. I'm like, all right, I guess my name doesn't fit.
I do it right.
No, the airport. Every time I go to the airport, they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't match. You got to go back. Every year I have to go back. Yeah, man, the name. I don't
mean,
even.
My mom was straight up. I used to like not do it. My mom was like, nah, you better tell them exactly what your name is and how to say it until they get it right, period. And I really didn't see the significance of that until I began getting a little older. I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all not about to be chopping me up in here. Let's get it right.
It's like actually odd, like at work, like, you know, I've been at work 2 years, so now everybody calls me Tay, right? But it's really weird when I meet new people or like new hires, or they come in and they're like, hey, Tay, and I look at them like, no, this ain't that. My name's Tay.
Question is like, is it a spelling problem or is it a pronunciation problem? It's pretty point blank.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so.
Like me, my mom, like when I was born, she told me. I don't mean to cut you off, my bad, but she told me, I want your name is like a multicultural name. It's spelled differently. She wanted me to be different, but it spells like you don't know if I'm white, black, Mexican. You don't know. And my last name don't help either. Like it's just like I'm not saying don't. I'm like don't like. You should rock your name. Like even if your name is Bitch Terrier, you better say my name is Bitch Terrier.
Did you
I hate you.
Wait a minute.
She said Bitch Terrier.
So many people with I know a Ladashia, I know a Bitch Terrier, I know a Acidy. Her name is spelled ABCDE.
Get out of here right now.
No.
Her name is spelled, think about it, Absidy. ABCDE. Absidy.
All right.
Nah.
In the car.
Well, it's been fun. Thanks everybody for joining. Oh my God.
I tell you, you should rock your name. You were born with that name. You're gonna live with that name forever, unless you change until you when you turn 18. But you rock it. Like your mom or whoever gave you that name for a reason.
Right. Like
you should rock it, even if your name is 12 digits long. Like you better rock it and pronounce it correctly, because everyone's
your mama gave it to you. And I
was like, because the thing is, everyone spelled my name wrong. I'm like, no, it's Jasmine with a Y and no E and no Z.
I spell your name wrong.
Spell it right.
Registration.
Oh yeah. All right. Thank you.
Every time I went
times.
There's so many times. It is.
Oh, listen. I'm gonna try to wrap it up because I promised that we weren't gonna go. What did we do last time? We went 3 or 3.5.
Yeah. We had 2 hours.
2 hours.
No, I'm saying that, but last time we were 3 last time, right?
It was 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. Shut up, punk.
Aggressive amount of hours.
Anyway, we had far too much. But I want to thank you guys, everybody, for one, coming on, 2, just giving us, and by everybody I mean you ladies, for giving us just an opportunity just to hear you speak on what you know, speak on who you are, speak on what you're about. And I mean, thank you guys for asking us questions, but at no point was it really about us really speaking on anything. That's why most of us were just kind of chilling. I mean, it means a lot to us, and I don't mean to speak for the guys, but I do mean to speak for the guys in that it means a lot to us because that was literally our biggest question that we had in terms of what we want to address in terms of the black woman and what we can do to be more supportive. And at the end of the day, man, I know for me, it's trying to listen, just like we want, people that aren't of color to listen to what we have to say, to have a dialogue with what we have to say. We also have to be willing as black men, be willing to listen to what you Black women have to say, because at the end of the day, I mean, facts are facts, and you look at the facts, and facts definitely do speak to the fact that you are at the very, very bottom of the totem pole. And so when you look at it from that perspective, man, I mean, a lot of changes have to happen. But I'm a firm believer in that if it's going to happen, it has to happen at base level. And every man will tell you home base is where mama's at. Any male that's walking the planet will let you know home base is where, pretty much where the patriarch's at. So if we can't take care of our women, we're absolutely doomed in terms of trying to take care of ourselves. It's just not going to happen. And I feel like, once we get to a point where we don't allow our black women to be forced to the bottom, to be disregarded, to be ignored, to be silenced, I definitely do feel that we as a race completely will rise up just that much more as a result of. So having you guys on, at least for me, in my heart, it's definitely puts a smile on my face. It puts a bit more joy in my heart, man. I mean, we're in some dark times right now, but again, if we can do our part to make sure that you guys are exalted and that you queens are treated as such, and that you're given support, I feel like it'll help us. I mean, and I don't know, like I only speak for myself. I mean, I tell Jocelyn a lot, man. I have your back no matter what. You know what I mean? And so I don't just try to talk, but I definitely try to live the same life that I speak on. So to each of you, thank you. I cannot thank you guys enough, man. It's only been episode 2, but this is definitely my favorite episode. Fellas, y'all got anything?
I'm just gonna piggyback off what you said. I'm glad we got to get this perspective because we did speak on it. We were like a week conversation without bringing in the actual people what we're speaking and with women and everything, because we can't give a real perspective. We got to get you guys' perspective. And like she said, the age difference is a big thing too. You get to see exactly. I would love to see Jasmine 10 years from now's perspective on everything she said today.
Lord.
Because I guarantee.
Wait, why me? See,
why me? Girl, why not you? Yellow Rice.
Because I'm the youngest, or like,
yes. Look, off topic or whatnot, but you 24 to 30, big difference in what you start seeing or whatnot. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and like I said, this is a big deal because the reason why a lot of the time we say black women are put on the bottom of the totem pole and everything, and oppressed, power struggle wise and everything, because and honestly, and statistics can back this up. The reason why it's pushed like that is because y'all also the most feared, because pure ambition and drive or whatnot. If it was the shift and it was no hold bars and black women were allowed to excel unscathed, they're gonna bring the black male with them, and then it's over. It's over for the rest of them whatnot. And we all know that certain people don't want to see that happen. So I believe that the dialogue and us understanding and their voice is going to help that progress even more or whatnot. And that's how I feel. So I appreciate everything.
Well, thank you for having us. When LS called, it was just a no-brainer. So,
yeah, when you were in my DMs, I was like, bro, I'm down, LS. Man, it's a good talk having with you. So
I appreciate you guys.
This is pretty dope. I definitely will be tuning in for y'all next week to see what y'all got going on.
But next
week's supposed to be spicy. Next week will be spicy.
I think next time, how about we listen from what you guys think of what we can change about ourselves? Because
that's something that I'm interested in here. I think I listened to how y'all kind of touched on it a little bit last week.
Yeah,
because I got the podcast from LS from last week, and that's some very interesting perspectives.
Bro, it's hard, man. Listen,
that's what I got. There's some very
you got. Hey, what I said, but I was honored. I was like, listen, for me personally, I always feel like, man, I'm not good enough. I gotta come correct. Man, you can't. Man, listen. You see, I work with Johnson. What I'm gonna do? You can't come half cock. You get chewed up and spit out.
Like
That's a whole nother hour of the show.
Like I just want to.
That's a whole nother week of the show. Tom, you have me. I'm gonna need a shrink sitting right next to me because you about to uncover all kind of. I'm gonna all the. Yeah, man. It's but I really feel like at the end of the day, man, I know for at least for myself, it's always just it's saturated in so much respect. Because of the black women that I've had in my life that I continue to have in my life. I mean, I don't necessarily have a. I mean. Honestly, Josh is the closest person that I have that's not family, and she's as powerful as they come. Like my mom's powerhouse, my grandma was a powerhouse, my sister powerhouse. I mean, so all the women that I come in contact with on a daily basis, they're powerful. They're powerful black women. Like, bro, man, listen, I can't come half stepping and get no way. So, but yeah, like so that's why it's so important to have you guys. Have you guys on. It definitely means a lot. Darrington, do you have anything?
No, that's it. Thank y'all for coming. I'm glad to hear y'all's perspective on it.
Yeah, this is dope. Dope.
Thank you, Reggie. I thought Reggie was going
to. I got one thing for next week. Can y'all please talk about? I want to talk about it today, but we got on a lot of other good topics.
Yeah.
But next week, could y'all please just hit on? I can't even remember if y'all talked about it last week, but did your parents or your guardians or whoever was that person for you ever have that conversation of what it was going to be like and what it meant to be a black man?
Ooh, yes. Yes. How about this? We will open.
That is a burning question.
That will be the first. Oh, man. Y'all.
Because I'm not even going to talk about it, but because a few weeks ago when this whole thing happened, my brother's 9 years old. He also has autism as well.
Mm-hmm.
So very briefly, he asked me about what was going on, and that was the first. We all have our moments where our parents may have talked about it to us at some point, and my heart stopped, and it stopped me in my tracks, and I said, Lord, what do I say to this boy? Because what I say to him right now. It's so important. Mm-hmm. This is the life lesson in his life that he's going to need to know for the rest of his life. And it's not a conversation to be had lightly, and it can't be skimmed over. It can't be brushed over. But you can't have it so much that you have them scared.
Yeah.
And they scared to live their life.
I will tell you this, just kind of adding to that. I've had that conversation. I continue to have that conversation with my dad to this day. It's not a conversation that stops. You know what I mean? So while there's a lot of weight that you take with it, there's a lot of importance that you add to it. Do understand that? I mean, you can continue. It's a living conversation that's going to keep happening. That they'll have to keep happening. Because he'll get older and he'll encounter a little bit different the older he gets. You know what I mean? As the experiences grow. So don't be afraid of it. I mean, embrace that because honestly, that's. So many young men don't even ask the question. You know what I mean? They just, just internalize and just assume that it just kind of is what it is. If you are blessed with that opportunity to have that conversation with them, don't shy away from it because you can keep having it. You know what I mean? You can keep adding to it because his experience is going to grow as he grows. You know what I mean? So yeah, lean into it. Don't lean away from it.
I have a topic that you may be going to talk about. Like, what if you bring a white man and a white woman into like this? Like they can see.
Oh, they're coming, Mama. They're coming. They're coming. Okay. I got white men, white women.
I want to hear their.
I got white officers. Because
the thing is, I want to like see because I remember when I was a kid, like I had a white friend, like today we still talk, but not like that, like we used to when we were kids.
Right.
Like every time we always play dolls together, and then every time her mom comes over, she like scoots her like so close, like just like in her mind, she's like, "Don't play with that girl." Like, and I'm like, we've been with each other since 1st to 5th grade. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, I haven't done nothing. Like, I live in a good neighborhood. She just, and I'll be wondering why. So I finally asked her. She was like, "Well, back in the day when she was in college, she got assaulted, quote unquote, assaulted by a black man. And then she assumed, and then she was like, I don't trust black people. I'm like, did you hear the whole story? Like you said assaulted, but that could be anything. That could be a black man be walking past her and she got scared, or
Yeah.
something else happened. Like, do you know the whole story? Because when you're a kid, your parents tell you the little bitty things. When you actually know the details, you be like, bro, I never thought of that. I didn't even think of that. So we were talking, so I'm like, why don't you just bring like a white man or a police officer? Man, I would definitely be hearing that.
Yeah, man.
Like, I want
to. I'm reaching out to a couple. Yeah, man. Any questions that that's in it for anyone listening. Like any questions you guys might have, just DM me. You know what I mean? We'll put them in there because for the most part, we just come up with the questions beforehand, just to make sure that people have them and they can hear them. And if anybody in the message board wants to ask, they'll type them in there. But yeah, if you have questions that you want us to address, if you shoot them our way, we will, man. And yeah, next week will be dope too. Oh man, I'm excited. All right, well, thank you guys again. If you like Jasmine, where can you be reached social media?
You can reach me at Instagram, Jasmine JSMYN S and then Pen PENN. I'll be on Instagram.
Jocelyn, where can you be reached?
You can reach me on Instagram too, JOCEYDEAR.
Alex says, where can you be reached?
Y'all can find me at lex.lift, LEXX.lift on Instagram.
And Latavia, where can you be reached?
I can't. You know how I feel about it.
Oh, Lord. I knew it. Before I even got there, she was already shaking. Bro, she was already shaking her head no.
She's like,
She was already shaking her head no before I even got to. I'm like, oh my God.
You already know what it was.
I know, but I didn't want to be like, man, don't ask you. And then you're like, man, you didn't even ask me. So, I was going to get murdered anyway, y'all. I'm damned if you do, damned if you don't. Everybody already knows the boys. You know where to reach Reg. You know how to reach Derek.
I'm friends with at least 4 y'all. And then for everybody on this call, you can find me in Ella. He tagged me in his
Look at she don't even look at being lazy with it. She don't even care.
Well, I wouldn't mind talking to my friends already with Darrington. I'm friends with you, like in jazz,
She say find her on the interwebs at your own discretion. You guys,
give me an email.
People don't use email no more. I'm sending you an e-bike for a friendship. But yeah, you guys, y'all thank you guys so very much, man. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, we'll be back bigger, stronger, blacker next week. Yeah, man. I guess that's it. See you guys later.
That's what you do.
All right, bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Later. Hold on.